Going off my last video where we talk about the bloodbath in the market since yesterday being June 10th, bloodbath started at 10 a.m. My last video talked about how there's a disconnect between the FUD, the supposed FUD about the exchange coin rail being hacked for $40 million worth of cryptocurrencies when which is, I don't see how that bit of news, mind you, that, like I said in the previous video, that the volume on that exchange did about the previous day like a total of $2.4 million, which is nothing. I don't see how that news could wipe off $30 billion off the market within like an hour, right? So it's bullshit is what I'm saying. And there's a lot more moving parts going on behind the scenes, mainly with regulations, etc., in the crypto market. Now, we know that majority of the volume in the crypto market comes from Asia outside of America, but news in the United States and even news overseas, man, it really, as we saw with CoinRail, it really moves the market quite a bit, especially downward over the past 6 months. But I wanted to share with you guys something. Chain Analysis wrote up a blog post recently, and it talked about Bitcoin's $30 billion sell-off from December to April. And basically, the bottom line is, it's a really long article. I highly recommend you read it. I'll link it in the description. But basically, in this article, it talks about how long-term investors of Bitcoin sold about $30 billion. Basically, they were taking profits, right? They've been in the market for quite some time, maybe 4, 5, 6 years, since Bitcoin was below a couple $100, below $100. And they started cashing out. They started selling out between December and April. And I can vouch for this, not only, looking at the exchanges and seeing the volume, but I have sources in the market that are facilitating. I'm not talking about little wannabe brokers. I'm talking about actual real seller and buyer mandates who are on the OTC market transacting huge blocks of Bitcoin. We're talking about 50,000 Bitcoin, 100,000, 200,000 Bitcoin. It's long-term holders are basically selling off. Not all, just some, but to the tune of $30 billion is a big deal. And what this article, or what this report from Chain Analysis, if you don't know who Chain Analysis is, they're like the leading crypto research company or firm in the market. From what I understand, the IRS would use chain analysis to do forensics research on tax evaders from crypto investors who are tax evaders. So this article talks about how $30 billion basically transferred hands from long-term holders to speculators between December and April. And again, I'm not saying this is the reason why the market has been dropping since December. There's multiple factors, but this is definitely one. Whenever we see a big, large red candle like we just saw yesterday, big sell-off, big red bar, the volume, these are the candles. Whenever we see something of this nature in the charts where there's a big drop or pullback, it usually has to do with some news, some FUD, fear, uncertainty, and doubt, whether it's China banning crypto or whether it's an exchange got hacked or something, right? Even though yesterday it was only an exchange that doesn't even do $3 million in volume a day, less than 40 million was hacked. This type of news is taken out of context and is manipulated by the mainstream media. And they know what they're doing. This is all my opinion. Again, guys, do your own research. This is not financial advice. I'm just sharing with you my thoughts. This is more of a conversation. I'd love for you to engage. Leave a comment below and let me know what you think. Let's talk about this. Let's discuss, right, in the comment section. So with that being said, what happens is when you have all this FUD that's coordinated coming out in batches, when you have a market filled with speculators, I equate speculators to gamblers. They're speculating. There's no one has a crystal ball. Nobody knows what the future holds. They're speculating that the price of Bitcoin and some of these projects, or majority of these projects, are going to go sky high. You see it all over YouTube. You see these guys. I mention this time and time again in my videos. Be careful. Really take inventory of who you're listening to, and who you're being influenced by, because a lot of these guys on YouTube are like to give price predictions. Will give like a title saying, this coin is going to $100,000, Bitcoin is going to 50 grand, Neo is going to $2,000, and it's all clickbait titles just to get you to watch their content, watch their video. They get a ton of views, and then they show up higher in the search algorithm on YouTube, and it just becomes a compounding effect, meaning like they get a lot more eyeballs on their content, which eventually gets people to click on their links in their description. They can get you on their their subscriber list, their email list, and then eventually sell you something down the line. This is how it works, is what everyone's doing. I'm not knocking their hustle. I'm just saying make sure you pay attention to who you're paying attention to, right? So, with that being said, you get a lot of speculators in the market, and anytime a bit of FUD comes out, people panic and they sell. Or you'll see a whale move a lot of Bitcoin out, and sell it on an exchange, drop the price, and then it becomes a compounding effect. More people will sell. Um, so my opinion, and like I've said before, I believe we're going to be in a bearish market for some time. I know a lot of these guys are, on YouTube, on social media, are talking about, especially a lot of expert traders, or quote unquote expert traders, are talking about there's going to be a bull run in June. Litecoin is going to be a couple $1,000s. Trust me, I really hope they're telling the truth, or I hope what they're saying comes to fruition. I'm not trying to hate on them by any means, but I like to be a realist here, and I like to also paint multiple scenarios so we also understand that, hey, there's other possibilities, and you have to have strategies in place to protect yourself. You don't want to be a gambler, you want to be a strategist, right? So um, what I'm getting at here is this: we are in a speculator's market. There are a lot of fucking gamblers in this market. And a lot of the news that comes out of this market shakes these gamblers. People are emotional and they're going to sell. In order for us to bounce up and to go back above 10 grand and above, and eventually eclipse the all-time high of December 17th when we hit 20 grand, there's going to need to be a catalyst. There's going to be news that comes out that really moves the retail investor, because all this volume is retail volume. And right now, supply is exceeding demand. I'm sorry, demand is exceeding supply, forgive me. And it's showing in the charts. And what is driving demand down is a lot of different moving, a lot of different variables is what I'm saying. Sorry, I'm getting a tongue twister right now. A lot of variables, a lot of FUD. This analysis by Chain Analysis recently with $30 billion and has exchanged hands. Because listen, man, if you've been in the market since 2013, 2012, you were a miner and you were mining Bitcoin at the time, and you were earning a couple Bitcoin a day when it was easy to earn that much Bitcoin and it was profitable. You've been holding it for 3-4 years. There's many reasons why people are going to sell. And I know some people have an argument, well, if you're a Bitcoin holder, you really believe it, you would just hold it because eventually fiat's going to die. But listen, man, people have lives, right? People want to enjoy their life. They're not going to sit on the sidelines for the rest of their life. Life is about going out there and traveling and exploring the world and experiencing new things. People are going to unload their Bitcoin. So a lot of these holders, long-term holders like Chain Analysis, have unloaded their Bitcoin because they've seen an all-time high. They're seeing 20, 30, 20, 10, $15,000 Bitcoin between December and January, and they're selling off because they want to take their profits and go enjoy their lives, right? So that's just my theory, and I think it's a pretty accurate theory. Um, and what happens is you get a lot of speculators coming in buying because they're hearing all these jackasses on social media and on YouTube throwing out these pie in the sky prices. Um, some guys offer some pretty decent analysis. I don't blame some of these people, and I understand they have a hustle, and they're not trying to necessarily knock their hustle, even though I believe majority of it's very irresponsible. But what I'm speaking to right now is you being the investor. And again, this is not investment advice. If anything, I'm just trying to share with you, hey, put your critical thinking hat on. Don't be so quick to believe everything you read and hear and see online, whether it's FUD, whether it's overly optimistic social media influencers in the space. where there's people shilling coins, do your due diligence. Be very careful. Don't just believe everything, right? So, a couple other factors as well. So, not only FUD, but another thing too. And this is probably my conspiracy theory hat I'm putting on right now. But about a month ago, this article came out that Iran and Russia are discussing transacting in crypto to avoid international sanctions. Now, I'm not trying to get into politics. These are what I'm about to share with you are just theories that were discussed on uh, um, a lot of these blogs like Zero Hedge. And I'm not saying I subscribe to these blogs, but I'm not disputing some of these theories as well. But if you remember when Libya was when the U.S. essentially or when Gaddafi was essentially overthrown um, and was killed. And I'm not saying Gaddafi was a saint. I'm not here to discuss politics. There was a theory going out that Gaddafi's what he was trying to do was he wanted to unify the African Union and create a one African currency and eventually start transacting in gold so he wouldn't so that Libya wouldn't be using USD. And mind you, Libya is a huge oil nation, right? So they have huge oil reserves, which is attractive for any nation. Again, this is all speculation. I'm not saying this is fact, but some of that theory does somewhat make sense that the U.S. coordinated Gaddafi being overthrown, and of course in the media, Gaddafi was painted as an evil dictator. Well, we've seen this time and time again in history with other countries as well. And I'm not saying these people are not dictators, but what I'm saying is it is used. It could be possibly used to the advantage of our government to, eventually take over a country and take their resources. Again, this is all theory. I'm not saying I completely subscribe to that, but I think it's an interesting theory. So to present day now, 2018, Iran and Russia discussing transacting in crypto to avoid international sanctions. This doesn't make the United States very happy. So my theory is, and again, this is a conspiracy theory. There's no fact behind it, so I don't want to. I'm not trying to equate this to like a price prediction, right? But something to think about. My theory is that I think it's possible that I mean, of course, the governments are scared of crypto, right? They don't want uh, countries and even their own citizens dumping USD and investing in crypto because it's going to flood the market with USD and it's going to be a problem for the U.S. economy, especially. Um, with that being said, and that's of course many years from now. I mean, I don't think we're months from that. That's many years from now. But with the United States seeing these discussions between Iran, which has huge oil reserves, right? And Russia, of course, they don't like that. They want these countries to be able to transact in the petrodollar, but these countries do not want to transact in the petrodollar, right? Because they're losing value on their end as America continues to gain value. So this pisses America off. So, in my opinion, I'm not saying this is the only reason why the U.S. government is slowly imposing sanctions in tranches, um, but I think this gives more of an incentive for the government to impose more sanctions on Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies. A buddy of mine who's very well connected in the crypto space in Silicon Valley, especially with VCs, etc. And he's actually launching his own token, and it's not no bullshit token. This is a real deal project. I'm not here to shill it. I'm not even going to talk about it. I'm not even going to share the name. I'll just put it to you this way: they're working with the SEC to be security, be one of the first security tokens in America. So this is a legit project with the parent company, etc. So he's a very credible source, is what I'm getting at. We were hanging out at his house in the Valley, in Silicon Valley the other night, and he was talking about it. He said, he believes that the market is going to continue correcting, which is what I believe. And what he's saying is that if the government was to impose sanctions all at once, it would totally scare the shit out of the market. There'd be a massive sell-off and would just totally collapse the market. They don't want that, right? Because I believe that the crypto market right now with all these projects is more of a the government is sitting back and watching and seeing what's going to work and what's going to fail, and eventually, and this is just my theory, that they're going to take the projects, the underlying technology and the consensus mechanisms that work for these projects and integrate it into their own coin. and they will produce their own cryptocurrency like a Fed coin or whatever they're going to call it. So with that being said, I believe that they are slowly, and my friend was saying that in tranches, they're going to impose regulations, not all at once, but in tranches, which we're actually seeing in the charts over the past 6 months. So when I'm reading off and talking about this news, these are multiple factors when I'm sharing with you that is driving the price down. Now, do I believe the price is going to continue being suppressed eventually? No, I think we're going to continue being in a bearish market, but in order for this to bounce back up and eventually eclipse the previous all-time high in December, and it could be a year or two from now, I don't know. In order for that to happen, there needs to be a catalyst. There needs to be some news that comes out that really entices and motivates the retail investor to start buying Bitcoin. Right now, there's not much demand. You can see the liquidity is diminishing every single week. I'm not saying this is permanent. I'm just saying this is happening right now, as you can see in the charts. The retail demand is diminishing. Um, but in order for this to bounce back up, eventually we're going to need to have a catalyst. And it could be in the form of a Bitcoin ETF, which becomes a very attractive on-ramp for retail investors to invest in Bitcoin without having to actually go through all the nuances that the average investor doesn't want to go through, which is, buying their cryptocurrency, buying their Bitcoin on Coinbase, whatever exchange they use, and then transferring it over to a cold storage wallet. Um, People don't want to do that. Only us who've been in the market for some time, who are very enthusiastic about the underlying technology and who believe in the future of blockchain and Bitcoin, etc., and some of these consensus mechanisms, not all of them. We are the ones who are like, yeah, we'll take the time to learn this stuff and how to transfer from one wallet to the other and go buy a Trezor hard wallet. But the average retail investor doesn't want to deal with that. I'm sure there is a ton of freaking Bitcoin and cryptocurrency and Litecoin and Ethereum sitting on Coinbase accounts that have never been transferred out because people don't want to bother with that, right? So because it's not very user friendly, it's not easy. So right now there's not very simple on ramps for crypto investors to get into the market. So I think the catalyst has to be something that makes it easier for in retail investors to get exposure to the cryptocurrency market. Until then, I believe we'll be in a bearish market. In my opinion, I'm not here to spread FUD or anything. Do your own research. I could be totally and sincerely wrong, and I hope I am. But I think we may break this trend line right here. I think we're going to drop below 6,000. This is just my opinion. I'm not trying to scare you off. I'm not even trying to tell you what to do. Again, do your own research. But this is just my opinion. I just want to share with you what I'm seeing, share with you my thoughts. I'd love to hear from you. Leave a comment below. Click the like button so others can find this video as well. If you haven't subscribed yet, make sure you click the subscribe button as well as the bell next to the subscribe button so you get notified whenever we upload new content to our channel. Let me know what you guys think. Leave a comment below and let's discuss and talk to you guys soon. Take care.